My name is Emily Sharp. I'm a fifth year BFA drama performance major, and we are working with new media students in our acting for the camera class.
Was this your first time recording your drama productions?
Yeah, we've been filming scenes throughout this semester. So we had new media students come in, I think a month or so back. And we've been recording through this whole semester. So I definitely have experience working with cameras and recording and stuff. I also did multimedia in high school, and
Right.
I at one point wanted to be a cinematographer. So I've kind of been familiar with film sets, but nothing to this scale that we've done, especially with the Cove studio shoot, and even just today's shoot was so large in comparison to the little sides and stuff that we've been doing this semester.
How does it feel being on camera?
Good. It's a lot different than performing on stage, because on stage you're taking everything out really big, and when you're in camera you're very intimate with your partner or your reader. And then it's also a different kind of nerve-wracking, because it's that there's a permanence to it, of it's being recorded, it's going onto a file, it's going onto a computer. Whereas with theater, if you mess up, the only people in the room that saw it, that's where it lives, right?
Yeah.
And how are they going to really remember it? So, but it's been really fun, and definitely something that I want to do more of. So,
how do you feel about the process of editing after the fact, and how does that affect how you're performing?
Okay, so I'm a nerd for film and stuff, so I actually am super excited about the editing process. It's mainly one of the reasons why I did the whole shot list, was because I just love this kind of stuff. It definitely does. You could always get a bad edit, I suppose. They say that in reality TV all the time, right? They edited me bad, but at the end of the day, it's what's best for the film. So it's not really affecting my performance acting or anything, because I know at the end of the day they'll just choose the one that looks best for the film, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest point where it affects people is they sometimes forget that if they mess up a line, they can just
cut
and
it.
redo
Yeah.
it. And it makes it a lot harder if they start moving around. And,
yeah. Stay in your spot and then go. Yeah, which is something that I think we've been trained in theater with, of if you drop the scene, if you break, you can take a minute to get that energy out by moving, because you can just come right back to it, right? But you can't do that on film, because it's you have to be right where you are. Continuity is constantly happening. So.
Yeah, it really has to be you realize you messed up, you're like, damn.
Stop.
You do need to pause to give enough time for the editor.
Yeah.
But it can just be pause and then redo.
And then keep going. Yeah. But it's been really cool to see the way that Geneva and Doug have been directing us. And just watching it all come together, and especially when all think okay, this is straightforward, we're gonna put the camera here, we're gonna put the camera there, and then all of a sudden it's wait, no, the camera's actually up in the audience and shooting down. So it's really fun to get to watch all of the collaborative brains come together, but also stressful as hell, because there's so much to do, and we've taken on a very ambitious project. So
how was your first time doing stuff on a green screen and working with that?
It's really intense working with a green screen. I think especially because the space is so much tighter, you don't actually realize that you're physically in a smaller space, but the space behind you, when you look at the TV and the images are there, it's so much bigger. So you as an actor have to flip your perspective. It's also just been really cool to watch you all put it together and see all of the puzzle pieces come together, and that's been really cool to watch. I've never worked with a green screen before, so
awesome.
Yeah, that was cool.
Before, we've never really done the being able to see yourself in the environment before. All of our work so far has been after the fact. We need to do it in post. I'm literally the guy who downloaded all the software on there, so this is literally the first time we're doing this level of sets with green screen, and I think it's going really well.
It looks sick. It looks so sick, and it takes time, but that's tech, right?
Yeah.
especially with the green screen, because like I said, it goes to that perspective thing of like we're in such a tight physical space, but then you see this whole world open up. It's also been really cool because in class we've had like the camera recording, and then we can see ourselves on the TV behind. So you see it in like the theater setting, but then to look at the TV and see yourself like at a royal ball is like really cool. And it just like helps as an actor to like get into the world, because you're not just looking at a green screen, you're actually like seeing what is being filmed, and the typical things that you wouldn't see until like the final production,
you're able
right?
to interact with your environment a lot more. That's really one of the biggest problems we've had, is people can't figure out where they should be reaching. It's so much easier.
Yeah, and that was like because Geneva and I saw your renderings early, and I went down to the props shop to pull props, and I immediately was like, this will fit the world, this will fit the world, this will fit. So
awesome.
It kind of helped on like the props and the costume side too, because we knew like, okay, this is where it's going and this is where it'll live. So that's cool.
How did going from the green screen to doing a regular multicam recording, how was that?
It was good. I think it's much more, as an actor, you're able to like get into like the physicality more, because like a multi-camera shoot is very similar to theater. So I think I like just watching my classmates today, like just immediately jump in and they knew where to go. That was interesting to see the dynamic shift of when we came into the co-studio and everyone's a little bit like timid and like not as comfortable because it's so different. So shooting in the Cove was definitely a challenge, but it was also like a good challenge that will like prepare us for our future careers in film if we choose to go that way. So that was really exciting. But there is something really magical about like being in the set with the actual physical pieces.
How was it being able to see yourselves? Because I know sometimes some actors have told me that they don't really like seeing themselves.
Yeah, I liked seeing ourselves because it helps me understand the spacing better. I was able to like, okay, like I'm here. And then there were a couple of times where like I could see myself on the edge of the frame and my dress was out of the frame. So it was like a really hard cut line. And then I was able to like move my dress or shift over slightly so that it wasn't like you couldn't see the line of the frame, right? And especially like because there's no really markers on the green screen floor, it's good to know like, okay, this is where I'm heading, this is my directions. So I liked seeing myself. I mean, when I'm acting and I'm in the moment, I'm not looking at the TV at all.
Right.
It's more for like rehearsal to like be like, okay, this is where I am, this is what I look like, this is where I'm heading, this is where I'm going. So it's good for like a practicality use. I don't think anybody really watches themselves.
Yeah, that's a really good
while the
point.
scene's happening.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a way I could like just disable it for the actual recording, because something we think about a lot is you can do a rehearsal a lot of times, but if your eye catches something, you can't really do that much about that.
Well, that was something that like we ran into like at the beginning of the semester, was like we weren't used to acting in front of cameras, so then we would constantly want to look right at the camera, right? And that's like the one thing that you don't do. So that potentially could be something that happens with having yourself on a screen. Of I'm thinking like specifically Jamal's scenes when Maddie is so up close, and then like seeing that right there. I feel like if that was me, I would want to be like, that is me on the screen, and like look at myself while I'm acting, right?
I noticed that in some of the recordings where I saw people standing here and I was like, what are they? Oh, they're looking at.
Yeah, they're looking at ourselves.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, the good thing is that the screen is not the camera. So there isn't really any harm to it, especially if you're meant to be going in that direction for the scene.
I think, I think there's no harm to it, but it sometimes could take away from performance.
Oh,
if somebody's like watching themselves. I think it's super useful for rehearsal, definitely.
That's a great point. We may be able to do something where,
even if it's just like turning the screen off.
Yeah. Like just slightly can affect a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.